Mike the Vegas guy here, coming to you with a different kind of video today. Normally I bring you my show reviews, hotel reviews, and buffet reviews, but today I'm going to show you 4 Las Vegas Strip buffets that you cannot go to right now because they are closed. However, unlike many Las Vegas buffets that were shuttered due to the 2020 pandemic, these have not been repurposed, converted into food halls like some of the others. These are still sitting abandoned, potentially waiting to reopen. I'm going to give you a little history of these buffets. I will show you what they look like right now and how some of them are hiding in plain sight. And of course, I'll talk to you about the likelihood that they may or may not return. These are the 4 Las Vegas Strip buffets that have the potential to possibly still come back from the dead. Thank you for hitting that like button. I would love it if you hit that subscribe button, which would allow you to see the rest of my Vegas videos and my upcoming buffet, hotel, and show reviews coming up on this channel. So I'm going to rank these buffets sort of in order of what I believe the likelihood is that they could return, from least likely to most likely. Although, be forewarned, just a disclaimer, all 4 of these buffets are equally likely to never reopen. But it's possible. Other casinos have reopened their buffets. Most of the ones on the Strip, in fact. Even though some are only open for partial hours, usually for brunch. In spite of what many hotel operators said during the pandemic, when they threatened to never reopen buffets again, they claimed that they lost money for the hotels. The ones that have come back are now charging a premium price. You have to make reservations in advance just to get in. It is my belief that any of these 4 buffets could reopen if the business demands it. So let's take a look. Let's start with the buffet I think might be the least likely to reopen. This is over at the Flamingo. This used to be called the Paradise Garden Buffet. This buffet was adjacent to the animal habitat at the Flamingo. It had these gorgeous windows that looked out into paradise with all the flamingos and the wild animals. It was a really great, picturesque, very Vegas buffet. The reason I'm putting this as least likely to return, this is the one buffet in the Caesars portfolio that was starting to slow down its operations prior to the pandemic. Ironically enough, this was the one buffet that was primarily only open for brunch, like so many of the open buffets are today. This one was doing it for seemingly no good reason. They were only open for brunch, and they would open for dinner on like Fridays or Saturdays, which is sort of an industry standard now. Maybe that's a reason the Flamingo buffet could return, but it did seem like this was already a buffet that wasn't doing great business to begin with. Today, as you can actually see through the windows when you're in the habitat during the day. They're using it as storage. There are old slot machines lining those windows. Let's be honest, most of these abandoned buffets are probably being used as storage right now. This is the only one that you can actually see into from guest-facing areas of the resort. Of course, there's a lot of construction going on at the Flamingo, so who knows what they're going to do with this space. But I wouldn't be shocked if perhaps they do not return to a buffet in this space. This next buffet, for many, many years, was regarded as the best buffet in Las Vegas. In 2000, when the Aladdin reopened, the new Aladdin, which is now Planet Hollywood, it opened with the Spice Market Buffet. It was a themed buffet along with the Middle Eastern, Arabian-themed hotel. And this buffet always specialized in Middle Eastern cuisine. Even after the rebrand to Planet Hollywood, right up until the pandemic, you could still always get lamb at the carving station, among other dishes. The food was incredible. This is one of those buffets that is kind of hiding in plain sight. The entrance is just sitting there in the middle of the casino floor. You had to go down these escalators. The archway where the sign used to be that would say Spice Market Buffet is there, just completely empty, void of any markings. They built a little wall in front of the escalators after a while, when they used to just have some of those temporary barriers. that once was one of the best buffets in town. There's certainly good reason to reopen it, but there are a few reasons I think maybe they won't. First and foremost, if you can tell, it's sort of underground, even though it's actually on the ground level. The casino is 2 floors above street level, mind you. But it was prone to flooding. Anytime there was a flash flood, big rainstorm, like many of the resorts do, a lot of these properties are not prepared for floodwaters, but that buffet space would usually close when there was a flood. They'd close for a couple days and reopen, something they sort of lived with. But since it has been sitting empty for several years now, perhaps, I have no sources to confirm this or not, but it's possible that there's flood damage, that it would cost them even more money than your average buffet would cost to reopen. But of course, if they ever do anything with that space, they have to deal with the flooding issue. So let's hope they use it to reopen the Spice Market Buffet. Coming in at number 2 is a buffet that was probably not on a lot of people's list of their favorite buffet in town. Kind of unassuming. This was the Flavors Buffet at Harrah's. Harrah's has never really had a strong identity of its own. This buffet didn't have much in the way of theming, but it was a good buffet. I actually have eaten at this buffet more than any other of the ones I'm listing. This is probably the one buffet on this list that most people watching might not miss if it never reopened. However, it's very interesting to note that Harrah's has dumped a lot of money in the last year or two in renovations here. Millions of dollars worth of renovations. Walk through there today, it is gorgeous. They've renovated this place so much, and they have added restaurant spaces, and yet this buffet is still hiding behind construction walls. The main entrance is hiding behind this digital box office board here. And you can clearly see where the line, the queuing area would be for the buffet. It has stayed like that for 4 years now. And they've renovated practically every other inch of this hotel in that time. So if nothing else, this seems like an indicator that Caesars is sitting on their buffets just in case they decide to reopen them. I have no inside information on this. I have no idea what they plan to do with this space, but I personally would have expected them to have done something with this space by now. So, who knows? Stay tuned. Perhaps the Flavors Buffet could reopen on the Strip. All right, and finally, this last buffet is probably one of the most popular on the list with tourists. What was once known as Le Village Buffet at Paris. This one is the most heavily themed and most photographed of the buffets on this list. And it is hiding in plain sight. It blends in very well with the decor when you walk through the shops area between Paris and Horseshoe. You walk right by the buffet, and today you might not even realize that there's a buffet back there. It just looks like some Parisian theming, these little doorways and windows. What I'm showing you here was the main entrance to the buffet. The ceiling is wide open, and you can see that there is something over that wall. There's a seating area. That's where the buffet was. Just like Harrah's, Paris has recently spent millions of dollars since the pandemic. All the while this buffet has been sitting vacant. They've added the Martha Stewart restaurant. They've added the Vanderpump bar. They've redone their sports book. And they are currently building an extension to what used to be the Bally's Jubilee Tower, which is now being absorbed into Paris, called the Versailles Tower. So they're even technically adding capacity to the hotel, and they're connecting it with a sky bridge directly into the Paris casino area, and the buffet is still empty. Could they bring it back? Now, the only hiccup, if you do notice here, the Bobby Flay's burger place slightly cuts into the footprint of what used to be the old buffet. Just this little corner they've portioned away as a seating area. Now, I don't know the layout of the back of house area there. It's possible that when they added the Bobby Flay burger place that maybe it uses up kitchen space, back of house area that would prevent them from reopening the buffet. I don't know. But it is so strange that they haven't done anything else with this space. put something else in there. Paris is still one of the most popular resorts on the Strip. With the recent renovation and addition of the Horseshoe, and them bringing the World Series of Poker to both of these properties jointly, it would stand to reason that if they were going to open any Caesars buffet property, that here at Paris, with so many people coming in and out of this property, I'm putting this at the top of my list. If they're going to open any of these buffets, I think it would be Paris. But who knows? Like I said, perhaps none of these will reopen. But the next time you're passing through any of these hotels, stop and remember what used to be. Did you ever visit any of these 4 buffets? Do you agree with my opinions of which ones might reopen? Tell me in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more of my buffet reviews on this channel. I'm Mike the Vegas Guy.